Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving deep into something pretty exciting. Um, Panasonic's new Lumix cameras for 2024.
Yeah, they just announced them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our main source for this deep dive is a blog post from LensClear.
Oh, yeah, LensClear.
You know them, right? It's a site that's all about, helping photographers find the best gear without spending a fortune.
Right, like getting that good value.
Exactly. And the author of this particular post, Leo Liang, he's a pro photographer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he seems really pumped about these releases and what they could mean for the future of photography.
He is, and it's not just hype either.
Yeah.
Yeah, Liang's insights really make you rethink some of those assumptions that we all have about camera systems,
Okay.
especially when it comes to micro four thirds, like that whole debate.
Micro Four Thirds. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Right.
Our mission is to figure out, is Micro Four Thirds making a comeback? And what does that mean for you, the listener? Whether you're a seasoned pro or maybe you're just starting out. Like, is this something you should be paying attention to?
Yeah, exactly. And Liang's take on this is fascinating because he's actually most excited about Panasonic's Micro Four Thirds offerings, not the full frame ones.
Huh. That's kind of unexpected, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming from a pro, you'd think it'd be all about that full frame.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah.
So what gives? Why is he so into the smaller sensor system?
So Liang breaks it down in his post, and he argues that for many photographers, particularly those who are, focused on street photography, travel photography, or wildlife photography, he says that Micro Four Thirds offers that sweet spot, that balance between image quality, portability, and value.
Okay, so it ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah. And he actually says that he prefers that smaller size for street photography because it lets him be more discreet.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, he can capture those candid moments without intimidating his subjects, if you're walking around with this big, huge camera.
Yeah, you don't want to be lugging around, a giant camera and lens.
Yeah.
If you're trying to blend in and capture those moments.
Yeah, you don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to travel and wildlife photography, that weight and size savings can be a game changer, especially if you're hiking or traveling long distances.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And Liang even points out that the smaller sensor can be advantageous with telephoto lenses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can get the same reach with a smaller, lighter lens, which makes it much easier to handle, out in the field.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's not about sensor size being better or worse. It's about using the right tool for the job.
Exactly. The right tool for the job.
And for a lot of photographers, it seems like Micro Four Thirds might actually be that perfect fit.
It might be. And Liang dives into some specific cameras that really exemplify this philosophy. He calls the GH7 the flagship Micro Four Thirds model, and it's packed with features that make it a video powerhouse.
A video powerhouse.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What makes this camera so special for video?
Well, Liang highlights a couple of key features
Okay.
that have him really excited. The first one is phase detection autofocus,
Okay.
which he says is a game changer for video. Apparently, it allows the camera to track moving subjects much more effectively than those contrast-based autofocus systems that are common in many cameras. And I know you've probably seen this before. It's really frustrating to get that hunting and pecking effect, when you're trying to film moving subjects.
It just can't keep up.
Yeah, with contrast-based autofocus.
Okay.
And then, so phase detection basically means smoother, more professional-looking footage, especially when you're dealing with action or movement.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And for videographers who want to take their footage to the next level, the GH7 also boasts ARRI-Log C3,
ARRI-Log C3. Okay.
which is a logarithmic color profile that captures a wider dynamic range.
All right, so wait, hold on. I've heard of log profiles, but I've never really understood what they're all about. Can you break that down for me a little bit? And why would someone need ARRI-Log C3 specifically?
So think of it this way. A log profile captures more information about the scene's light and shadow detail than a standard video profile. It's like giving yourself more room to play with in post-production, so you know more data to manipulate.
More data. Okay.
And ARRI-Log C3 in particular is known for its pleasing color rendition and its compatibility with professional color grading software.
Okay, so it's like the industry standard in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of a favorite among filmmakers.
So it's a pro-level feature that's now accessible in a more affordable camera.
Exactly. And that seems to be a recurring theme with these new releases, bringing those high-end features down to a more accessible price point.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, especially for aspiring filmmakers or anyone who wants to, take their video editing skills to the next level.
Exactly.
Speaking of accessible, Liang also raves about the G97 being like the perfect entry point into the Micro Four Thirds system.
Yeah, that entry point.
So what makes this camera so beginner-friendly?
So he emphasizes its user-friendliness. It's packed with creative filters, automated modes, and just a generally intuitive design.
Okay.
And that can make it less intimidating for someone who's just starting out with photography.
Right.
Liang actually goes as far to say that he recommends this camera to his friends who are curious about photography, but, they've always been kind of intimidated by all those technical settings.
Oh, yeah. It can be very overwhelming
It is.
when you first start out. There's just so many buttons and diets.
So many things to learn.
Yeah.
And menus and menus.
So it's a camera that lets you focus on learning the art of photography without getting bogged down in the technical stuff.
Exactly.
Which can be a real hurdle for beginners.
Yeah, it is. It's all about removing those barriers and allowing you to experiment, have fun, and just develop your skills without feeling overwhelmed.
That's great, especially for our listeners who, are just starting out or who want a camera that's easy to pick up and use without having to, spend hours reading the manual.
Yeah, exactly. Just pick it up and shoot.
Now, all this talk about Micro Four Thirds has me really curious to see how Panasonic's full-frame camera stacks up. Liang mentions the Lumix S9, but he doesn't seem as impressed.
Yeah.
What's the deal there?
Well, it kind of speaks to the crowded nature of the full-frame market these days.
Right, everyone's doing it.
Yeah. Ling's main critique is that the S9 doesn't really offer anything groundbreaking or unique that sets it apart from the competition.
So it's a good camera, but it's not necessarily a must-have, especially when you consider all the other full-frame options out there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's something we should probably unpack a bit more in part 2 of this deep dive. If our listener is considering going full frame, it's worth exploring those other options and seeing how they compare.
Yeah, good call. We'll definitely do that. But before we move on, Liang also mentions a couple of new compact cameras, the FZ80D and the ZS99.
Oh, yeah. The compacts.
Yeah. I'm curious, what's the appeal of a compact camera in today's world where, everyone has these smartphones with increasingly sophisticated cameras?
That's a great question. Yeah.
I think it speaks to that enduring appeal of dedicated cameras, even in the age of the smartphone.
Okay.
Yeah, these compact cameras offer a level of zoom and image quality that you just can't get from a phone.
Really?
Especially the FZ80D, which boasts a pretty impressive zoom range.
Oh, wow. So when you say impressive zoom, how does that compare to like a smartphone's digital zoom? Is there a noticeable difference?
Oh, absolutely. Digital zoom on a phone essentially just crops and enlarges the image, which can result in, significant quality loss. These compact cameras, on the other hand, they use optical zoom.
Right.
Which means the lens physically extends to capture a closer view without sacrificing image quality. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, okay.
Especially for those who enjoy photographing wildlife or those distant subjects.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for our listeners who are, avid travelers or nature enthusiasts, these compact cameras might be worth considering because they offer that extra reach and image quality that you just can't get from a phone. Right, all in a package that's small and portable enough to take on any adventure.
Yeah, I've definitely been in those situations where my phone just doesn't cut it. Like trying to photograph a bird or something, and it's just like a little blurry dot.
Totally.
You can't even tell what it is.
Yeah. And the ZS99 in particular is designed to be incredibly compact and travel-friendly. Liang actually calls it the pocket rocket because it's packed with features including 4K video recording and a high-resolution electronic viewfinder, all in a body that can easily slip into your pocket.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like Panasonic is covering all the bases with these new releases. But one thing that really stands out to me is this apparent focus on Micro Four Thirds.
Yeah.
Especially with those standout models, the GH7 and the G97. It's almost like they're making a statement about the viability and future of the system.
It does feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's a fascinating question to consider as we move into the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Is Micro Four Thirds poised for a resurgence? And if so, what does that mean for the photography landscape as a whole?
Stay tuned because we're going to explore all of that and more in part 2.
It's interesting how Panasonic seems to be like doubling down on Micro Four Thirds.
Yeah.
Especially with those standout models that we discussed, the GH7 and G97. It really begs the question, is Micro Four Thirds poised for like a resurgence? Is it coming back?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And to answer that, I think we need to like zoom out a little bit.
Yeah.
Look at the bigger picture.
Okay, yeah.
The whole camera landscape. We've talked a lot about Panasonic, but what about those other players in the mirrorless game?
Right.
If our listeners considering Micro Four Thirds, what are the other systems that they should be looking at? Like, what are the alternatives?
Well, if we're talking mirrorless, you absolutely have to consider Sony.
Yes, Sony, yeah.
They've been leading the charge in full-frame mirrorless for years now with their Alpha 7 series, which is known for exceptional image quality and autofocus performance. Plus, they have a vast lens ecosystem covering pretty much any focal length or creative need that you can imagine.
Okay, so Sony's like the big dog when it comes to full-frame mirrorless. But hold on, are we saying that Sony's full-frame cameras are actually a viable alternative to something like the GH7, even though the GH7 is specifically designed for video?
That's a great question. And it really highlights the need to consider your individual needs and priorities. So while the GH7 excels in video, Sony's Alpha 7 series offers incredible versatility.
Okay.
They're capturing stunning stills and high-quality video in like a single package.
It does it all.
Yeah, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with in both worlds.
So it's not just about video versus stills.
Right.
It's about finding a system that aligns with your overall shooting style and the types of content that you actually want to create.
Exactly. And if we're talking purely about video, there's another contender we need to mention.
Okay.
Canon.
Oh, yeah.
And their legendary Cinema EOS line.
The Cinema EOS, yeah.
These cameras are like the gold standard for professional filmmaking, used on movie sets, high-end productions worldwide. They're known for their high frame rates, robust codecs, and advanced color science.
Okay, so Canon Cinema EOS cameras are like in a league of their own.
Yeah.
But let's be real, those are serious professional tools with a price tag to match. So what about for our listeners who are more budget conscious but still want a system that delivers excellent image quality?
Yeah, there are definitely options out there that strike a good balance between quality and affordability.
Okay.
One brand that comes to mind is Fujifilm.
Fujifilm.
Their X-series cameras, like the X-T5 or X Pro 3, are known for their beautiful image quality, retro design, and importantly, their value for money.
I've heard good things about Fujifilm.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about their cameras that makes them stand out? Aside from, the retro aesthetics, which are very cool.
Well, a few things. First, they're known for their unique film simulations.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about those.
Which mimic the look and feel of classic film stocks.
Oh.
And this can be a real draw for photographers who, appreciate that analog aesthetic.
Right. Kind of that old school vibe.
Yeah, exactly. And second, Fujifilm has been steadily building out their lens lineup, offering a growing collection of high-quality lenses that are generally more affordable than their full-frame counterparts.
So it's like getting the best of both worlds, that classic film look.
Yeah.
With modern digital convenience and affordability.
You got it.
I like it. Okay, so we've talked about Sony, Canon, Fujifilm.
Yeah.
What about Nikon?
Oh, Nikon.
They're like a photography giant, right? So where do they fit into this whole mirrorless landscape? You'd think they'd be at the forefront of this mirrorless revolution.
You'd think so, but they were actually a bit slower to embrace mirrorless technology.
Really?
Yeah. However, they've been making a strong comeback in recent years with their Z-series cameras,
Okay.
which are giving Sony a run for its money in the full-frame market.
All right, so Nikon's back in the game.
They're back.
What are they doing with the Z-series that's so impressive?
Well, for one, they're leveraging their decades of optical expertise to create some truly exceptional Z-mount lenses.
Right.
And they're also packing their Z-series cameras with cutting-edge technology, including advanced autofocus systems and impressive image stabilization.
So it's like they took their time to study the competition.
Right.
And then came out swinging with a system that's both innovative and built on this solid foundation of optical excellence.
Pretty much. And it's important to remember that we're comparing all of these systems to Panasonic's offerings,
Right.
which are holding their own,
Yeah.
especially with those strong Micro Four Thirds cameras like the GH7 and G97.
Right. We don't want to lose sight of the original question.
Right.
Is Micro Four Thirds making a comeback?
Yeah.
And looking at these other systems, it seems like there's a lot of competition out there.
There is, but that's actually a good thing.
Okay.
It means more choices for photographers and videographers, allowing them to find the system that truly aligns with their needs and creative vision.
Okay, so we've covered some of the major players in the mirrorless world. Sony, Canon, Fujifilm, and Nikon. But before we move on, are there any other brands or systems that our listeners should be aware of, like any kind of dark horses?
There are a couple others that might be worth exploring. Olympus, for example,
Oh, yeah, Olympus.
has a long and rich history in the Micro Four Thirds space.
Mm.
They were actually one of the pioneers of the system, and they continue to develop innovative cameras and lenses.
Olympus. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah.
What's their current focus?
Well, they've recently partnered with OM Digital Solutions to continue developing their Micro Four Thirds lineup. They're known for their rugged, weather-sealed cameras, which are popular among outdoor and adventure photographers.
Oh, that makes sense.
And they also have a strong reputation for their lens quality,
Mhm.
particularly their pro-grade telephoto lenses.
So for our listeners who are into outdoor photography or who need a camera that can withstand the elements, Olympus might be a good option to consider. Are there any other kind of niche brands or systems that stand out?
There's Sigma.
A company that's primarily known for its high-quality lenses, but they've also been venturing into camera manufacturing with their unique Foveon sensor technology.
Sigma, interesting. What's so special about their Foveon sensor? I've never heard that before.
So it's a very different approach to image capture. Instead of using a traditional Bayer filter array, which captures red, green, and blue light at different pixels, the Foveon sensor captures all three colors at each pixel location.
No.
And this is said to produce images with exceptional detail and color accuracy.
Wow. That sounds pretty advanced. But is it a system that's suitable for beginners, or is it more for experienced photographers?
It's definitely a more niche system,
Mhm.
and their cameras tend to be geared towards photographers who are really into pushing the boundaries of image quality.
Right.
It's not as user-friendly or as widely adopted as some of the other systems we've discussed. But for those who are interested in exploring alternative technologies, Sigma is worth checking out.
I like that. Always good to think outside the box.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the big players like Sony and Canon to more specialized systems like Olympus and Sigma.
Right.
But let's circle back to Panasonic
Okay.
and that question of whether Micro Four Thirds is making a comeback.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
And I think the answer might be more nuanced than a simple yes or no.
Okay.
I think what we're seeing is like a diversification of the camera market,
Diversification meaning.
meaning that different systems are finding their own niches
Right.
and catering to specific needs and preferences. So full frame is still king when it comes to absolute image quality, but it comes at a price both literally and figuratively.
Literally in terms of cost.
Yes.
And figuratively in terms of size and weight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where systems like Micro Four Thirds come in.
Okay.
They offer a compelling balance of image quality, portability, and value, which is why we're seeing companies like Panasonic investing heavily in the system.
So it's not necessarily about one system replacing another,
Right.
but rather about different systems kind of coexisting and thriving
Yes.
by catering to different segments in the market.
You got it. And I think that's a positive development for photographers and videographers because it means more choice and more opportunities to find the perfect tools for their individual needs.
Yeah, I like that. More options is never a bad thing.
No.
So to answer our original question, is Micro Four Thirds making a comeback? I think it's safe to say that it's definitely not going away anytime soon.
Agreed. And with companies like Panasonic continuing to push the boundaries of what's possible with the system, it's definitely a system worth considering.
All right, so we've explored the camera landscape, looked at those heavy hitters in mirrorless, and discussed the potential resurgence of Micro Four Thirds. But what does this all mean for our listener? How do they decide which system is right for them?
That's the key question. And it's something we'll delve into in the final part of our deep dive. We'll explore the factors to consider when choosing a camera system, and we'll offer some guidance on how to navigate this ever-evolving world of photography and videography.
Stay tuned, because in the final part, we'll put all the pieces together and help you figure out which system might be the perfect fit for your creative journey. All right, so we've journeyed through this, vast camera landscape.
We have.
We've met the titans of the mirrorless world.
Mm-hmm.
We've pondered the fate of Micro Four Thirds.
It's been quite a journey.
It has been a journey. Now comes the big question. How do you, dear listener, decide what's right for you?
Yeah, that's the thing. There's no one right answer.
Right.
It's not like a best phone list, where there's one clear winner.
Yeah,
Photography's so personal.
it is.
It's about the kind of images you want to create, your budget, even your physical comfort with the gear.
That's something I hadn't really thought about until we started this deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how much my personal shooting style matters. I tend to be a run and gun type, so something bulky would probably just stay at home.
Exactly. And that's where those insights from Leo Liang become so valuable.
Yeah.
He wasn't just listing specs. He was talking about how different systems felt to use,
Yeah.
how they influenced his approach to photography.
He did say he prefers micro four thirds for street photography because the smaller size allows him to be more discreet and less intimidating to his subjects.
Right. And that's something you as a listener should consider.
Yeah.
If you're drawn to a particular style of photography, street, landscape, wildlife, whatever it may be, think about how the size and weight of the gear might impact your ability to move freely and capture those moments.
So it's not just about megapixels and autofocus points.
No.
It's about finding a system that feels like an extension of your creative vision.
Exactly. And that's where this whole comeback of Micro Four Thirds, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not about dethroning full frame. It's about offering a different approach, a different feel that might resonate with a certain type of photographer.
Liang did seem to be a big advocate for it.
Yeah.
Especially with the video capabilities of the GH7.
Oh, yeah.
He was saying it's like having a professional filmmaking tool in a much more compact and affordable package.
And that speaks to another key consideration.
Yeah.
Video.
Oh, right.
If you're at all interested in filmmaking, the line between still cameras and video cameras is blurring more and more.
It is.
Cameras like the GH7 are bridging that gap, offering professional-level video features without the need for a dedicated cinema camera.
I'm thinking back to what you said about Canon's Cinema EOS line.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible machines, but they're probably overkill for someone who's just starting out with video.
Yeah.
A camera like the GH7 might be that stepping stone, allowing you to explore those advanced video features without breaking the bank.
Right. And even if you're not planning on shooting, Hollywood blockbusters, having those advanced video features can open up a whole new world of creative possibilities.
It's true. You never know what you might get into.
You don't.
It's funny, we started this deep dive focusing on Panasonic's new releases, but it's really become a broader exploration of the entire camera market and how to navigate it.
That's the beauty of a deep dive.
It is.
We start with a specific topic, but it leads us down all these fascinating paths. And ultimately, it's about empowering you, the listener, to make informed decisions about your own photographic journey.
So let's bring it all together.
Okay.
If our listener is out there right now feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all these options.
It can be a lot.
Yeah. What are the key takeaways? What should they keep in mind?
First, define your needs and priorities.
Okay.
What types of photography or videography are you most passionate about? What's your budget? And what kind of shooting experience do you want to have?
I love that you're bringing it back to the personal experience.
Yeah.
It's not just about the specs on a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
It's about how the camera feels in your hands, how it inspires you to see the world differently.
Exactly. Once you have a sense of your needs and priorities, you can start researching different systems.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to try out different cameras at a local store or rent them for a weekend to get a feel for how they handle.
That's great advice. And remember, there are tons of resources available, online reviews, forums, YouTube channels dedicated to photography and videography.
Oh, so many.
So many. Don't be shy about tapping into that collective knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
And finally, remember that it's a journey, not a destination. The camera you choose today might not be the camera you use forever.
Right.
Your needs and preferences will evolve as you grow as a photographer or videographer.
It's a constant evolution.
It's okay to change your mind, to experiment, and to always be open to new possibilities, and most importantly, to have fun.
Always have fun.
Photography is an incredible way to connect with the world, to express your creativity, and to capture those fleeting moments that make life so special.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into Panasonic's new releases and the ever-evolving world of camera technology.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you found this journey insightful and empowering.
Thanks for joining us.
Happy shooting.